What's a non-obvious sign someone is rich? In my experience as a waiter in a fine dining establishment, they treat you like a normal fucking human. Not sure if my boss coined the term, but a 100K millionaire will treat you like you're just the help and make you feel like less of a person. Most of the time, they will stay quiet about money, but never balk when presented with a bill. They will be very selective in those they choose to be friends with, for various legal reasons. Casually having expensive hobbies, stuff like sailing, skiing, and golfing, especially in areas where those activities aren't as accessible. And if they've been doing it for a long time. You live in the Midwest, but you've been surfing since you were 10? Probably rich. They wear very nice clothing without any brand identification. This is kind of funny. I knew someone whose family was new rich, and he would go to lengths to buy brands that he could remove the brand tags because he didn't want people to know what brands he wore. Hasn't got shit all over him. Never talks about money. If their couches don't touch the wall. Real generational wealth keeps an extremely low profile. They have no digital footprint. They actually pay people to keep information about them off the internet and out of any publications. They will keep a low profile, driving cars that blend in, nice, reliable vehicles, but nothing too flashy. Minimalist homes. I don't know why, but rich people like the simple aesthetic, which honestly doesn't feel homey. They'd rather live with very few things. Alteration. Their clothes fit perfectly because they don't expect things off the rack to fit perfectly. They have someone alter them to fit perfectly. For me, it's a few things. 1. Their neighborhood has lacrosse fields for the kids. 2. It's an old kind of big house with a gravel driveway. Bonus points if they have parking near the street in a little gravel parking space.
3. I summer in.
They go out of their way to eat meals with fresh vegetables, and not just corn or tomatoes either. It's an odd one, but I have noticed the wealthier friends I have eat differently than the middle-class friends I have. Keeps low profile, never talks about money. I noticed how some just don't know how to use local transportation, lol. Seeing people with outstanding teeth and smiles. That is seriously expensive, and usually is dead last on most people's to-do list, since it is so expensive. The main difference between people with money and people without money is how they react to money-related emergencies. If your bike got stolen, a poor person will understand how much of a problem this can be for you, because poor people understand a bicycle to be your method of transportation, that you need to run errands and perhaps sustain your ability to work, which in turn sustains your life. They may also understand that it's difficult for you to replace the bike. A well-to-do person would say, "Ah, well, why don't you just buy a new bike?" Because to them, a bicycle is just a fun exercise toy that is non-essential. They probably have a car and is easy to replace. The wealthier someone is, the bigger you can scale up this money-related emergency. I have the money not to care too much if my bike was stolen, but I don't have the money to not be stressed out if my car was stolen. But at some level of wealth, that's a thing. Always pays for the friend group when hanging out. It's all in the shoes. Poor people wear the same shoes too long. Rich people have a variety of shoes and don't need to wear dirty ones. It's how I would confirm if that guy was a semi-famous actor or just looked like that guy from some movie. Extreme frugality and knowing every dollar and cent that goes in and out of their wallets seems counterintuitive, but wealthy people view money in a very different way, especially if they are self-made millionaires. Never doing DIY. Whether new or old money, almost all wealthy people have come across don't waste time on stuff they aren't experts in to save money and simply hire a person to take care of it. They never inquire about the cost for something. If they want it, they get it. I've always seen it as the front door. You can kind of tell by the way. The door looks how rich they are. Because if you're rich enough to care about how your door looks, and you didn't buy the basic door, then you probably bought many other upgrades to your house, one of your largest assets. Doors are branded either so they're not flaunting their wealth. They just enjoy the look. The car's gas tank is always full. They have a couple hundred on cash in their wallet all the time, and they don't know exactly when their paycheck hits the bank. Most of them don't know the prices of most stationary items at a grocery store, such as bread, milk, eggs, cheese, butter. I mean, how much does one banana cost? $10? Perfect teeth. It describes their ability to pay for mental health treatment before it causes major physical symptoms, and their ability to pay for expensive surgeries when their teeth are already screwed. Good orthodontists are expensive. They are always going for the more expensive, quality brand groceries, even if the cheaper version is literally the same, but a no-name product. 99.9% of these comments are just what poor people think they would do if they were rich. The reality is that they live just like everyone else, but with way less stress. My wife and I make twice as much as most of the other people in our neighborhood, but we drive roughly the same type of cars, do the same types of activities, dress the same, etc. We just have way more money in the bank and take more expensive vacations. The most obvious difference will be when we retire decades before other people. Fingernails, manicure, classic jewelry, gold and diamonds usually. If you can spot a fake, expensive handbags and watches, good rich-smelling cigars, pipe tobacco, quality well-made clothing, even sportswear. I could be way off. I remember when you could identify the wealthy with the huge cell phones you could easily spot. They hesitate less when they have to buy something, or they don't check the price. When your budget is limited, you tend to check if an item would be less expensive elsewhere, or if you really need it right now. Someone rich will just pay and not worry about the price. It doesn't mean they will spend their money willy-nilly. Not that they will buy any useless item that they fancy, but if they need anything, they often won't look at the bill aside from making sure they did not get overcharged. They don't like to talk, brag about what they do for a living. They will usually give very vague descriptions, outlining what they do for work. Having a relaxed attitude toward risk-taking and being calm when something financially goes wrong, because it's of no consequence to them. Losing your job won't mean that you can't pay rent or afford basic necessities. Missing a flight won't be a disaster. Just book another one or stay in your hotel an extra night. The ability to get out of almost any situation with just a few phone calls and/or relatively minimal charges to one's credit card means living an entirely different type of existence. I had a friend in school who owned and lived in a 4-floor building. All the 4 floors just for his family. Their family had one of those famous Swiss bank accounts, but the biggest one was when I saw him in his home office reading a newspaper, which was spread on the table completely, and there was a guy who was standing there to just turn over the next page. And then never looks at the prices on the menu when they go out to eat. Expensive hobbies. Lots of overseas trips, holidays. Look at the watch on their wrist. Nice watches are very expensive, and most rich, but not flashy rich, will have an expensive watch. I was told by someone that worked for a billionaire, as in their assistant to the billionaire, Dwight. She said that they rarely ever own a liability with a depreciating value, i.e., yachts, cars, and they will lease or rent them through their business. Not that the business pays for them, but the business is on the hook. My boss is rich, many millions. He normally wears cheap polo shirts, swim shorts, and flip-flops. Rich people know when it's worth spending time getting dressed up and when it's not. Is $500K a year considered rich? Not anymore. However, it also depends on their lifestyle. If they make $500K and live on a $500K budget, then definitely not. If making a $500K and living on a $200K budget, then they are working on being rich. I don't know where everyone here is getting the impression that really rich people don't show off. They don't show off to you, but they do one-up each other all the time. It's done in private because they don't want to risk their kids getting kidnapped. They look younger than they must be, like they've always been healthy and relaxed. A friend of mine at university came into a very sizable amount of money, and the most noticeable thing was that he pretty much disappeared, was seldom seen on campus, deleted all his social media, vanished from his usual hangouts. Just vanished off the map. I've barely heard from him in years. Ideal manicure, expensive sport, or hiking shoes. If they wear belts, it's classic style expensive belt of natural color. Never have dry skin hands. Using neutral nice perfumes, neutral makeup just for ideal skin color. Not talking about money. Often have old cars or buy used cars. If they wear glasses, it's very expensive. They don't buy fancy and flashy stuff, but in general, they don't care about prices of things, be it a carton of milk, clothes, phone, car, or an apartment. They just buy whatever they need or want because they like it. I dated a rich girl at one point. Most people are particular about their food, but I swear you'll know what I mean when I say a steak elitist. When they don't make any attempt to reimburse you for things because they don't realize that something like $100 for a concert ticket or a dinner out isn't small potatoes for many people. They buy a carton of eggs without even looking at the price. You never see them in obvious branded designer clothes, with the logo boldly written "Own" said clothes. They don't promote designers for free, always plain there. Many people say they don't talk about money, but I think not talking about money is just a good manner that everyone should have. The ones that make money in times of great economic disturbances. I've only had one friend I would consider very rich, and there was an odd thing I noticed about him. He didn't consider money into plans. I know that sounds obvious, but he just really didn't even consider it. We were college friends, and I was usually broke, and he would be like, "Hey, are we thinking $200 a plate steakhouse? Or do y'all want to chill here and get Taco Bell or what?" And it was as simple as that. He made decisions without money as a factor. So he was fine with Taco Bell, but he also didn't mention the other place. Because of the price tag, it's just what he felt like. Currently having slow revelations with my wife. I grew up upper class and she grew up lower middle class. We are all trying to get a family vacation together, with her parents and mine. Nothing big like a 3-day cruise on a discount like $500 for two for the weekend. I tell mine they book it. No problem. I tell her that the parents should just book it. She tells me that the parents need to save up for this trip. I honestly was confused that they didn't have $500 just to go on vacation. So not thinking about money on vacation is a sign for rich. P.S. We're both teachers, so it's not like we are upper class. Having an overabundance of everyday items, hordes of toilet paper, toothpaste, towels, rags, paper towels, etc. They buy it all at once and chill until they're close to running out all. I guess toilet paper is still a status symbol post-COVID. They don't eat at places like Taco Bell. They usually seem to prefer nice sit-down restaurants. When they go to a fine restaurant and don't care what the bill is, and they give the server a huge tip. Didn't realize how wealthy some casual acquaintances were until we were at a nicer bar at a resort, and as soon as the staff saw their credit card, they started getting really good service. It was a nice place, and they were great to everyone, but suddenly this couple were like the only ones in the room. So apparently the color of your credit card, which I don't think is always a giveaway, but people in some industries just probably know rich person credit cards. I have a Sallie Mae student loan cashback card, and that didn't get me anything. Back in my college days, we had a friend who came from a pretty wealthy family, but you couldn't tell because he lived in the dorms, like everyone else. Except anytime someone suggested we go to a restaurant, or to a game or show. He never asked about how much it cost, or said he'd have to check his bank account like other people would say. Then one day he casually mentioned his father was going to bring him back to campus in their helicopter. And had a roommate in first year who rarely lived in the dorm, but had food delivered daily that tasted like it was picked out and cooked the same morning. Well, we invite him to St. Patty's Day, and I notice his watch, to which I drop a "That's really cool, mind I see it." Half drunk, I saw the watch face and asked him about the symbol. Mind you, this watch was really heavy as I am holding it, and he says, "It's the family sigil." I was holding a 23K gold watch, and he turned out to be part of the Qatari royal family. Dude could easily stunt on any one of us. So L guess it's the small things in their lifestyle, and how modestly someone can wear 100,000 USD on their wrist. They rarely or never talk about money in everyday conversations. There's a saying that there's an inverse correlation between how wealthy someone is and how often they mention money. But it's not that easy or obvious to gauge how often someone actually talks about money without interacting with them a lot. Quite a few people who grow up with wealth conceal it. If they don't want you to know, you won't. During college, I was dating a man for the better part of a year, before finding out that his parents' residence was an entire floor of a fashionable Upper East Side Manhattan building. Their summer house was in Paris. One of his worries in life was about attracting parasites, so he had anticipated anything that could give away how much money was in his background. Occasionally, it was useful to tip that hand, His mother had worn her mink coat when she co-signed his apartment lease. He spent modestly on dates and wore ordinary clothes. He had put a lot of thought into looking like a middle-class guy. I knew paying bills wasn't a problem for him, but he was kind of embarrassed when he revealed what his situation actually was. Wealthy people worry about time, the only resource and commodity that doesn't replenish. Edit. I'm not wealthy by any stretch, but I'm slowly starting to value my time more than my money. I think it's a healthier way to be. Time enjoyed is not wasted. Their kids have no pressure to get regular middle-class jobs. Some families I know have 3-4 kids and are very proud this one is an artist. That one is 40 and getting a PhD. The other acts and directs local theater. It's a subtle status symbol to support your kid in whatever. I have a minor panic attack. How does that pay the bills? But it doesn't have to. I don't see a lot of designer purses or granite countertops, but a lot of art. And every piece, there's an accompanying story about being in that country, or knowing that artist stayed in their house, etc. If you live in Silicon Valley, you won't be able to spot the poor from the rich. You can have a millionaire walk next to you in Target pants and drive a Honda. Too true. I used to run a computer store near Silicon Valley, and we would have customers that were all sorts of scary-looking mountain men, smelly hippie-looking dudes, and other homeless-looking types come in and buy our top-of-the-line products with rolls of cash or high-end credit cards. I had to train my staff to treat everyone very gently when they came in, and to never judge a book by its cover, no matter how they looked or unfortunately smelled. Edit. This was also before housing prices there got ridiculous. It's certainly not 100%, but one sign could be expensive hobbies. A lot of wealthy people I knew growing up didn't think of themselves as wealthy at all, but not a lot of skilled wakeboarders, or horseback riders, or outdoorsmen, or snowboard skiers could have reached that point without having money. But then again, I have a cheap ski hill in my town, and knew a few lower-class kids who were unreal, because their parents would buy them a ski pass and gear, knowing that they could leave them at the hill for extended times, rather than hiring a babysitter or doing an after-school program or anything, while they were at work. So it can go both ways. If they show up to college, a university, and a brand new luxury car, that, on the other hand, is a dead giveaway. They never mention money or their status. True story. My friend went to college and befriended a girl. After 2 years, they took a class together, made a presentation, saw the girl's full name. In our culture, your full name is your name, father's name, family name, and was shocked to realize her father was the next in line ruler of the country. She used her name, father's name, throughout college, so people wouldn't know who she really was. For women, I say their hair tells a lot about how much money they have. Rich women with thin hair get extensions. Their hair is dyed by someone who picks out the most flattering tone and shade for them. They get treatments and blowouts regularly. Whenever I run into a celebrity at the grocery store or wherever in LA, the first thing I always notice is their hair. It's always nice, and noticeably more coiffed or cut or dyed more fashionably than others around, even if it's unkempt. Also, their shoes. I saw the actress from The First True Detective, Alexandra Daddario, at Trader Joe's last week, and those were the first things I noticed. There are a few corner cases where breaking the law and paying the fine is more convenient and cheaper than doing things properly. Parking in Tokyo used to have this issue. It was cheaper to just keep paying fines than rent a legitimate parking space. My company's van drivers are even allowed to claim parking tickets back on expenses, up to a certain value each year. It's because a lot of local councils won't exempt them, even though it's a utility company. And sometimes they have no option but to park illegally to do their job. Lose to sell new cars in a sparsely populated area. One time an old geezer comes in overalls and grubby looking. All the other salesmen scattered because nobody wanted him. I was the slowest to see him, so I got stuck with him. He turned out to be what we called in the business a laydown. Told me which truck he wanted, paid sticker price in cash. Easiest sale I ever made. And taught me a great life lesson too. Thank you for watching. In the comments, tell us about the worst pain you've ever felt. And don't forget to check out our other videos. See you next time. See you next time.